Welcome to Beech Grove High School and the Hornet Spotlight. We are here today with the family of Robert Oswalt, class of 2006. Mr. Oswalt was selected as the Alumnus of the Month by the Renaissance Committee, a very special young man who unfortunately was taken from us way too soon, and our committee felt like we needed to recognize him this year with his family and friends, and we had a lot of requests that Robert be included in the Hall of Fame now, and we're complying with those requests, and we look forward to talking with Robert's family about Robert and his career here at Beech Grove High School and at the University of Southern Indiana, where he was actually, technically, we're talking about Dr. Robert Oswalt, aren't we?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
To my right is Jay Oswalt, Robert's dad, Kyla, who is Robert's widow, and Marcia, who is Robert's mother. So they all graciously agreed to come in and talk today. So if we run a little long today, please forgive us, because it's a great guy we're going to be talking about. Again, thank you all for coming in. We appreciate it. Class of 2006, Robert was a salutatorian.
That's correct.
And we talked about, we had a kind of an unusual, sometimes the valedictorian and salutatorian are kind of very competitive and a lot of things going on there, but in this case with Mr. Templin, that wasn't the case. You want to talk, let's start about talking about the relationship between those two guys.
Well, they were friends, I think, going back to Little League. Robert said one of the mistakes he made was tutoring Scott in calculus, so that he ended up, whatever it was, 2/200ths of a point ahead of him or something to be the salutatorian of the class. But they were just good friends. They liked to play tennis and golf and participate in school. Robert was in the band, but Scott was more, I think he was more sports oriented with his things. Robert started playing the tenor sax and really enjoyed it. I think he ended up being the lead marcher his senior year.
Yes.
And it kind of opened the doors for him. He was kind of worried coming in here as a freshman. You heard about kids getting trapped in lockers and all that fun stuff. And he was 6'4", so there wasn't much chance of putting him in there.
Yeah, that wasn't going to happen with him, for sure.
But
I don't really think, that wives' tale still goes on. I don't think it happens, but it's still alive and well.
I remember back in my days. But being active like that, he got to know the upperclassmen and stuff, and school just wasn't scary or anything for him when he started, and that just eased his transition into high school. And he loved to play basketball. He wasn't particularly good at it until he got a little more height, but he had some various health issues that slowed him down on things, but he was able to keep going, overcome those, and as he got involved in band and academics at school, it just allowed him to grow and find his comfort niche. And he really enjoyed Beech Grove. His sister and I used to play tennis, and we couldn't, and he was never interested until a couple of his buddies started playing tennis, and all of a sudden it was, why didn't you show me how to play tennis earlier? I'd have been better at it if I'd started younger. And he just grew at his own pace, at his own rate. But when he had a chance to things, if he could sink his teeth into it, he would, and take full advantage of the opportunities he had.
You do that. Is there, you've talked about his tennis, you've talked about the band, and you talked about academics, specifically calculus. Talk about a little bit some of the other classes and some of the teachers that that he really, or you guys felt like really helped him a lot while he was here, or he benefited the most from?
Well, I think the science department was the best for him. That allowed him to go on and major in biology at USI as a pre-med student. And Mr. Banks encouraged him. I think Robert ended up talking a couple friends into signing up for AP biology just so that they would have a class that year, his senior year. And we were talking earlier, one of the funnier things was they spent a year going through that biology book with Mr. Banks, and then when he got to USI, he spent 2 more years going through that book again with USI. But he could do the math and stuff. I mean, he enjoyed calculus and stuff, but he didn't want to pursue that. He liked the science. One of the one of the things that impressed me was I think it was his 8th grade teacher had him write a letter to themselves what they wanted to do when they graduated from high school. And she mailed it to him the week before they graduated from high school. And he talked in the 8th grade about wanting to become a doctor and going off to med school. And with the good background he got here at Beech Grove with science and chemistry and English and everything, he was able to test out of a lot of classes his freshman year at USI and helped him going ahead and get his degree. So he took advantage of the academics that was here. He also had fun. I mean, being in the band, they got to go on that trip to Disney World, and they did and perform on Main Street, which I think excited me more than it did him. But
I could see that.
Yeah, yes, I got a big kick out of that. And but he did the Science Olympiad and stuff, so he got to go over to Butler and check that out. And he just enjoyed the people here and the challenges that the academics involved. He liked problem solving. And I don't understand his love of biology. Well, his mom's a nurse, that might have helped. But I was always frustrated because I loved math, but calculus just never really truly made sense to me. And but he enjoyed the sciences, and that was the way he ended up going.
So, I'm sorry.
Oh, go.
So we pretty much understand what motivated him and what interested him and what he enjoyed in his leisure and those kinds of things. How did he take all the stuff? What was the process that he went through transitioning from Beech Grove High School to the University of Southern Indiana? And please share the information you shared with me before we went on air about why he chose that school, and please share the scholarship story as well.
Okay. He wanted to get as far from home as he could be and still pay in-state tuition. We had looked at USI a couple years before when his sister graduated, and he decided that school didn't really interest him, although I thought it was really a nice school, nicely sized compared to Beech Grove. And they had wonderful academics and everything there. But we ended up even looking up at Michigan State. And I think that was when he decided he didn't want to go to a big school out of state. And he got down there to USI, and he was offered a chance to go for the President's Scholarship. And Robert was bound and determined he was not going to wear a tie for anything, for anybody. And he didn't wear a tie to the interview, although that was recommended. And he surprised me a couple years later when he commented that he was glad he did not get the scholarship because it forced him to stay on campus and get involved with things. One of the concerns he saw as a band kid was all the band members that graduated coming back for every competition. He said, when I graduate from high school, I want to move on. I don't want to keep coming back and reliving my high school days. I want to have new college days. So that worked out for him. The only time we saw him was when we went down to Evansville to visit him. He ended up taking a boating class and something the first summer, so or the summer after his freshman year, so we didn't see him any then, and unless we went down south. But he said if by not having that scholarship, he was forced to stay on campus and get involved. He ended up, because of his academics, he had a full scholarship for his tuition, and he ended up working in the biology department as setting up the labs and taking care of the animals and stuff, which worked out to his advantage because, number one, he knew all of his professors before he had the class, and setting up the labs, he knew exactly what he was going to be facing when he was taking the classes. So that all helped him, and he ended up, he joined a fraternity, Kappa Alpha. Oh, if I'd messed that up, he'd have been upset. And he was not a big joiner of things in high school, and it really surprised me that he did that. But he actually could have been president of his fraternity, except for some more health issues he had. But he really enjoyed being in Kappa Alpha and participating in those fraternity events, and getting the Greek life as well as the academic life. He ended up being an RA, so that covered his room and board the last 2 years, and he tutored students too, and several of his teachers, if they had a student that was having trouble with a particular biology problem or math or even some of the English, they would send him to Robert because they knew he was good at explaining things to people, and he could make it so it makes sense to them, and which kind of surprised me, but he was very good at that, and he took full advantage of what was offered to him, and I think he really enjoyed his years down at USI, and he found his wife down at USI, so that was all good for him. And he used to frustrate us on vacation because he would always worry about his grades. And, well, Robert, go online and see what your final is and so forth. No, I'm not going to ruin my vacation. I'm going to just sit here and worry about it. And invariably, he was afraid he'd get a B or a C in a class. He ended up with A's. And he got into med school, which was his big goal. And he had the first 2 years of med school down there at Evansville, too. So we hardly saw him for 6 years.
Med school's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And we complimented USI because we really sent him a boy, and they brought us back a man. It amazed me how much he grew and developed while he was away at school. It just awesome. And then in med school, since he was in his 4th year, he was talking to patients and everything, and it was amazing to me how he could have a rapport with people. And the last year when he was battling his own health issues, one of the general practice doctors complimented him. He said, when you first came here, I was afraid I was going to have to code you before you left. I didn't know how you were going to make the 4-week curriculum here. He said, and you did an outstanding job. You talked to the patients, you made them comfortable with you, and you got the information you needed, and you came up with the right diagnosis. You did an excellent job doing your job. So, and he was proud of that.
Should be.
And one of my favorite things there towards the end with Robert, he wanted to work with kids that had genetic issues like he had, and he worked with several he had several different rotations at Riley, and he met some very special kids. And there was one little girl that he had, I don't know, she had some kind of problem. She was back in the hospital occasionally, and he always promised her he was going to stop in and visit her. And when she was in, he'd be in the hospital or something himself. And finally, she was in one time, and I got to take him over there to the hospital. And he said, I'll just be 10 minutes, Dad. I can only run in there for a few minutes and see her. I don't want to get in trouble. Well, he came back out after a half an hour with the biggest smile on his face. He said that little girl just lit up when she saw him. And it just made him feel wonderful. And that was kind of what he wanted to do with his life. You're going to have to take over. I'm sorry.
I think Kyle's going to talk a little bit about the college days. You didn't know him in high school. You didn't know him when he was ornery. You met him after he became civilized, right? Or are you the one that caused that change that Jay talked about?
Yes.
I met him when he was 19, when he was a sophomore at USI. So like his second semester as a sophomore. And when I first met him, our friends introduced us. Two of our roommates were dating at the time, and they broke up like a month later. But they introduced us, and remember the first thing he told me was that he wanted to be a doctor. That was his big goal. And then he got accepted to the Indiana University School of Medicine. So I was the first one that he told, so I was really excited for him.
And what type of medicine? Jay mentioned he was interested in the kids with the genetic type things. Was that pretty much it from the beginning when you met him as well?
No, when I first met him, he wanted to be a cardiologist, and then I think once he actually got into medical school and started doing his rotations, he realized how much he loved working with kids. And so that kind of steered him towards being a pediatrician instead. And then as he did his genetic rotations, he really got more interested in the genetic part of it. And he did some of his rotations at Riley, where I used to work. And where he met that little girl was on the unit that I actually worked at. And that was the first time we'd ever had to work together as a nurse and him as a medical student.
And how'd that go? Did you have to tell him what to do?
No, I did like a different part of it. I really wasn't around him very much. He would just come and like visit me on his breaks. And I remember one time he came over and we were just talking, and he gave me a kiss as he was leaving, and people didn't realize that he was my husband. You just kissed a doctor. I got a kick out of that.
Yeah, it would be something different. I don't know how a patient would take that, but so you had a lot in common, obviously, if you're a nurse, and I think my daughter's a nurse as well, and the nurses are always too busy to go visit the doctors, but the doctors have plenty of time to do whatever they want to do. So that's the way she would explain that. Would you see it pretty much that way too? And I'm sure you explained it to him that way, didn't you?
That little girl, she really did like him, and I remember my managers would like round on the patients each day, and that little girl told her how much she liked that medical student. He was the only one that would like sit down and talk to her, and he would watch like the little kids shows with her and sing her songs, and he was just really good with children. So he was headed on the right. He definitely had found his path and was headed down the right path. Is there anything else at USI that, I mean, you make sure Jay got the fraternity correct, and I'm not even going to try. Is there anything you would like to share about other than the med school, or anything else that you want to talk about this fraternity? I wouldn't even say Kappa Alpha. I'll just say fraternity. Anything that you would like to share there in terms of the things they did with regard to the fraternity? I really think that fraternity was one of the best things he did, because it really brought him out of his shell and forced him to do more things on campus, to be involved with the other students. And in that fraternity, he would be more of a leader. Like he was, like when I met him, I think he was like number 6 in command, and then he got up to be all the way to the vice president of his fraternity when he was a senior. And he just really enjoyed it, and he made a lot of really good friends, and even when he was in medical school and was having all of his health issues, his fraternity brothers would come up and visit him and just talk with him. He really stayed close with all of them, even after USI.
Definitely brotherhood there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Marcy, we talked before we came on air, you had some experiences while he was in high school that you felt were pretty special. We don't want Jay to dominate the conversation. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about some of your favorite memories from high school with Robert.
Well, the most memorable was my time I got to spend with the band as a band camp nurse. And, Robert would go his own way, and we just, I just took care of the kids that needed help, and sometimes he was one of them, unfortunately. But anyway, we had a good time in those 4 years, his dad and I both, helping out with the band and everything that they needed, so. And then we were very thankful to Corey Wynn over the years and Scott Bradford. They definitely made a difference in his life.
Those guys will help bring a guy out of his shell too a little bit.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is all three teachers you've named are still here and still helping kids and doing a great job.
Awesome.
There's a lot more Robert Oswalts to come, we hope.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. The only thing being a band dad was dragging some of those props all around like at Ben Davis High School. I think we had a 2-mile hike dragging stuff around for the band. But those are always more fun in hindsight than they were during the actual event.
Yeah, they would be almost impossible now. wouldn't
Oh, yeah, I couldn't make it now.
they? I saw you stretching out when you came in.
Yes, yes.
Well, you can kind of tell from the people we've talked to that clearly Beech Grove High School is a very good educational institution, and we're very proud of our school. But I think any successful alum or any successful student has got to have a family unit like Robert clearly had, and you can just sense the love and the respect and everything that's involved into making a great family. He was very blessed, and conversely, we're all blessed to have known him. Yes. And I think we're very fortunate as a school and as a group of individuals to have known Robert, and we appreciate you sharing what still is, it's not been that long ago since November 27th. So it just, I definitely, on behalf of my committee and the people that asked me to ask you here, I do appreciate it, and I do understand how difficult it is, and thank you very much, all three of you, for coming in and sharing, and I hope he's happy with us.
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so.
Again, it has been my pleasure to do the Alumnus of the Month for the month of May. We close the school year with the Renaissance Hall of Fame. We do have plenty more Hornet Spotlight coming up. We have, actually, we're going to do a Scholar Athlete of the Month for April today, and we'll be doing one for May 2 or 3 weeks down the road. Graduation, mark it on your calendar, is June, I better mark it on mine. First Saturday morning in June is when we'll graduate about 178 students from Beech Grove High School, and look forward to that, and we'll talk more about that on the Scholar Athlete of the Month. So again, thank you to the family of Robert Oswalt, class of 2006, the newest member of the Beech Grove High School Alumni Hall of Fame.